Hi, Gina. How are you?
Hi everyone,
There
thank
she
you so much
is.
for having me back. It was nice to see you guys.
It's our
Our
pleasure.
pleasure
Yes,
indeed.
I'm unfolding today.
Gina, could you explain to us what is overthinking disorder and what causes overthinking?
Okay, yeah, sure. Like you guys all talked before, overthinking is something we all do at some point in our life. Like everyone worries at least once about school grades, maybe, or education, financial, relationship, their career, or their relationship with their friends or families. But technically, overthinking disorder doesn't really exist, but there are many kinds disorders an individual engaged in overthinking or rumination, like when someone cannot stop obsessing and worrying over things. Well, it can
Yeah.
interfere with their quality of life too.
Okay, now
That
Gina
sounds like us.
sounds so familiar, doesn't it? Sounds so much like us. Now, Gina,
Sounds familiar.
yes. To what extent can overthinking damage one's life?
Okay, well, like I said before, it is one of the symptoms for several disorders in psychology, like PTSD, trauma, and then anxiety, and what else? Maybe like panic disorder or phobia. Like we ought to think a lot about things, then sometimes it will make us compulsively think about that, like imagining some things that are not gonna happen anyway at some point, but we keep obsessing, thinking about that, like that thing circling in our minds, and it kills us. And sometimes it can go into a more serious disorder, like I said before, a trauma, anxiety, or panic attack.
Okay, so this makes me think because when you overthink, you have a lot of branches in your mind. What about here? What about that? What
Yes.
if this happens?
Yeah.
What is the second plan? And so on and so on. So, does this actually affect personalities, especially in teenagers or even in adults, maybe?
Of course. Yes, maybe any age we also experience kind of thinking from every generation. Like my parents thinking about their life at some point and worrying about their children, and also their children worrying about their parents and their life also. And sometimes it kills us. It makes us doubt everything. Like we have a kind of thought, like what if that, what if this, what if that, and it's called counterfactual. Like we questioning if that is happening, what might happen. Like maybe if I were that, or if I did that previously, I think I will be like that. Sometimes it makes us like regretful or disappointing ourselves before our actions, before well, we cannot change that. And we
Yeah.
tend to trap in the past rather than focusing on our present and our future later.
Well, what's done cannot be undone, right?
Right. Hey,
Yes.
Gina, overthinking. Who is most prone to be overthinking? What age group, and what is the reason behind that? If it's for younger people, is it because there's a lack of life experiences that they make them worry about different things, and perhaps older generation they just don't care about things, because they just do, not think. Is that how it is?
Okay. Well, actually, looking back at my own experience, I think when all of us, when we were a kid, we tend not to think about anything. Like we live our life like a rainbow and a Sunday. And when we are growing up, we tend to think a lot of aspects. And maybe we all, at some point in psychology industry itself, we believe about parenting style. When we get the right parenting style, or growing up with the right parent, and they manage to deliver us like the right knowledge and how they treat ourselves and how they put our mind. Like sometimes we cannot doubt it that not all parents is a good parents. They can also make mistakes. They can also make us think that we're not good enough. They can always make us think that we cannot make choices. I know a lot of friends that is so indecisive because they are not get used to make decision with their life because they got the parents who make decision for themselves, and sometimes that is a big decision that affecting all of the aspect in our life into the small aspects too. Like maybe yes, giving the simple decision itself, we cannot, we don't get used to that because we have our parents or our family to make that for us. So we just go with the flow. And sometimes when we face it by ourselves alone, we tend to overthink a lot of it because we are not getting used with that situation.
So overthinking is really is very related to decision making, right? Is it? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes, yes.
It's like very afraid
Of
of
course.
taking the consequences to that as well.
Red pill or blue pill, Bruce?
Now, Gina, it seems that an active imagination or creativity is a fuel for overthinking. Am I correct to say that? I mean, you said that one decision
Yeah.
might lead to an infinite possible outcome, so there has to be a limit on your active imagination and creativity. Okay, how do you?
Of course. We
how-
tend to imagine a lot that doesn't really happen anyway.
All right. Okay. So the question is, can overthinking lead to mental health issues?
Okay, yes. Maybe like I said before, overthinking might lead to a lot of mental disorders like PTSD, trauma, panic disorder, anxiety, depression, and OCD. You may know it as obsessive compulsive disorder when we tend to very obsessed and very compulsive with our thoughts, and other mental health issues too that also must accurately diagnosed from the medical professional. And this is the situation where a person cannot stop their brain from rumination, from thinking and going back, triggering from their past, or like fear or worried about what may happen in the future if they did that, if they don't do that. And I want to state it again that overthinking is very common, that we all overthink things at times, and we may be overly concerned with what we said or what we did to somebody. We may be worried about performing, like maybe I being here today, I must have worried inside myself, but we might be also concerning about how others see me, how others judging me. And these are the examples of how the overthinking might engage in our life and our connection with other people. So when we don't treat that correctly, it might lead to a more serious illness like anxiety disorders. Like anxiety disorders, someone with that might have a very high heart rate at that point, thinking about things and cannot function well, and it just kills them. It just very very disturbing their day. And sometimes a lot of people maybe think like, "Ah, you just overthink it, just
Yeah, but can you
be
actually
relaxed."
can you actually channel that into something more positive? I mean, for somebody who can do some arts, can make music, or maybe draw something,
Or
paint something,
video editing?
or video editing, that would be
Yeah,
good.
that's actually
takes
a
forever.
good questions. Yes, of course, of course. Actually, I am also a dancer. I'm a
Oh,
folk
wow.
and a pole dancer. Yes, and sometimes I do contemporary dance too. And I really like to channel my feelings, channel my mind into a dance, into a choreography, and it just makes me relax because sometimes we cannot words our what is in our minds, but sometimes we can dance it or we can sing it or we can sing a song that relate to, and it just give us a sense of like expressing our thoughts and our feelings. Or maybe you can also do journaling or meditating because it's really great because sometimes everything is about thoughts and everything running circling around our heads, and we don't know how to organize it. But when we pour it into a paper, written it with our hand writing, it just feels more clearer with our clarity. Like when I do journaling, I write down like what I like, what makes me relax, what makes me worry, what makes me angry, and at some point I just get a clarity what's going on my mind.
You were saying channeling. That was based on Alia's question
Yes.
that can whether a person can channel that overthinking into something else. But how about
course.
is there any other tips to overcome the overthinking or change shifting overthinking? And maybe would that be in probably start doing more rather than think, or or is that a simplification of it?
Okay, actually, I like that. Before you also stated Seneca. He's one of my favorite philosophers, and I'm currently practicing his way of life. It's called Stoicism, right? And this is really true that not all of the things in life we can control. Like we only can control our mind, our thoughts, our feelings, and our reactions. Other than that, it's just situation. It's just someone's way of saying things to us. It's just someone's ways to do things to us, and it's not on them, not on us. What we can do is to protect our perspective. It's to control our reaction towards them. So any kind of things, we don't need to overthink it because we know that it's just the way of things happen and will also happen in the future. Like whatever in the past, what's triggering us right now, it will gone anyway. And at some point, we will learn something from that. And actually, I have one mindset that I like to practice a lot. Any problems in my life that makes me overthink a lot, that makes me very worry, very doubting myself, I switch it. I switch the mindset to if I don't have that kind of thing, I will be a very arrogant person because I have a life so straight, beautiful, no problems, no everything. So I will keep that as something to make me feel humble.
Very good tip. Thank you so much, Gina Sinaga, for sharing again with us on the 3-Hour News Show. Well, hopefully we can
Thank you so
overcome
much.
our
So nice.
overthinking.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gina.